Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? I need you to take this seriously and start paying attention, okay? Pay attention to what leads up to and what happens on November 5th. This could possibly be an actual insurrection. I pray that the people inside of this administration are paying attention. November 5th is scheduled to be the beginning of the communist revolution and insurrection to drive the duly elected president out of office. And the people that are going to be heading this are deadly serious.
So earlier today, we got some information that said that things are so bad in Washington, D.C., that Democrat leaders aren't talking to anybody. They're not talking to their caucus. They're not talking to Republicans. They're not talking to anybody. And I think now we know why. I'm going to show you two clips. The first one is going to help you understand what they're terrified of. And the second one is going to help you understand why they're not budging and why they fully intend on seeing SNAP benefits completely eliminated, at least for the month of November. They need people in the streets.
A friend just said she'd be happy if I died. So listen up, Democratic establishment. You can either jump on board with this shit, or we're coming after you in the same way that we come after MAGA. Period.
There you go. That is one of the biggest podcasters on the radical left that exists today, a woman by the name of Jennifer Welch. And her show, her opinions are disgusting. And there you have it. She is threatening the Democrats that unless they get on board with the attitude that it is okay to assassinate your political opponents, they're coming after them next. The other piece of this that you have to understand is that the Democrats have no intention on moving at all on the government shutdown until they get enough people that are hungry and angry and are willing to get into the streets. You see, a few weeks ago, when the No Kings protest failed so spectacularly to get the numbers and the diversity that they needed into the streets to justify the $300 million that they spent, it sucked so much oxygen out of the room that most people weren't paying attention to the fact that there's another set of protests scheduled to start on November 5th, this time by an organization called Refuse Fascism that was started by a guy that considers himself a revolutionary communist. And we have some leaked audio from a planning session to help you understand exactly what they're planning starting November 5th and why they need people so riled up and angry to get there.
This needs to be what happens right now. We're organizing millions of people to get to Washington, D.C., stand and surround the White House, surround the Capitol building, surround the illegitimate fascist Supreme Court, and not stop until the Trump regime is driven from power. We start on the 5th, we go to the 6th, we go to the 7th, we go to the 8th. We keep pushing every day, building and growing our numbers until masses of people are standing around the White House, around the Capitol building, around this fascistly packed Supreme Court until we drive the Trump fascist regime from power.
They have planned an event to start on the one-year anniversary of Donald Trump's re-election, and they think that if they allow this government shutdown to continue, enough people will be so upset and hungry that they'll join them in surrounding the White House, the Capitol, and the Supreme Court until they force the Trump administration to leave. This, folks, is an actual insurrection. This, folks, is an actual sedition. Folks, this is what the beginning of a violent revolution looks like.
Now, this involves a planned event by an organization called Refuse Fascism on November 5th, 2025, which aims to demand the removal of President Trump through nonviolent protesting. Now, given the current political climate characterized by heightened tensions and targeted threats against administration figures and recent instances of political violence, this event could potentially escalate into significant unrest. This organization, this Refuse Fascism, has a history of anti-Trump activism and is rooted in revolutionary communist ideology. Their goal is to mobilize large numbers of people, possibly exploiting public discontent over issues like the government shutdown or policy impacts to amplify their cause. The Trump administration has taken proactive measures, including, but not limited to, relocating key officials to secure military housing, and by ordering the National Guard to prepare for quick reaction forces. This indicates a recognition of potential threats and a readiness to respond to domestic unrest. The use of military resources for domestic purposes is controversial, and it could also lead to legal challenges. However, it also reflects a strategy to ensure public safety amidst perceived threats. So while this organization, this Refuse Fascism, claims nonviolent protesting, the current environment of polarization and distrust could lead to unintended violence or clashes with counter-protesters or with also law enforcement. So an event of this scale could disrupt normal governmental functions, especially if it coincides with other political activities like midterms or policy implementations. Okay. So the safety of both protesters and counter-protesters, as well as bystanders, is at risk. And this administration's preparation suggests that they anticipate significant challenges. So if you or your loved ones are in or around Washington, D.C., or other potential hotspots, please consider personal safety measures like staying indoors or avoiding large gatherings. Okay? Because the combination of ideological fervor, recent violence, and also governmental preparedness makes this a situation that warrants serious attention and also caution. That's all I have for this. If and when anything pops off that has to do with this subject, I will be sure to bring everything that I find to your attention. Okay? I will see you guys in the next one. You stay safe. You stay positive. You keep prepping. And as always, fear less and God bless. Ciao.